So here we go, 5.5b. And we're going to start with example 6. I promised you we'd do a column method. So what we've got, let's go ahead and write it out. That binomial times okay, so the way we've done this so far is we would take this and multiply it by each of these. And we get 2x times 3x squared is 6x cubed, because this one is added to the 3x squared, the 2 on the exponent there. 2x times negative 2x is negative 4x squared. And then 2x times 1 is 2x. Anything times 1 is itself. Now what we're going to do is we're going to multiply that, and that. So 3 times 3x squared, 3 times negative 2x, 3 times 1. Okay? Then we can look for common factors that we can add. I do not have anything with an x cubed on it, so I'm going to leave that. I have a negative 4x squared and a plus 9x squared, so I'm going to add those. And I have a 2x and a negative 6x. And I have nothing to combine that 3 with. Okay, so there's my answer. Alright, that is the way we have been doing it. Now there's another method called the column method or the vertical method, where you put the polynomial with the most terms on top and the binomial, in this case 2x plus 3, on bottom. Okay? And what we're going to do is we're going to multiply. So what we're going to do is we're going to multiply 1 times 3, negative 2x times 3, and 3x squared times 3. Okay, so we're just going to do that. We'll multiply this times that times that, that. It kind of looks like regular multiplication when you had like 236 times 4. How did you do that? You multiply 6 times 4, 3 times 4, and then 2 times 4. And that's what we're doing. 1 times 3, this times 3, this times 3. So let's do that. 1 times 3. Always put the sign in front of it. Negative 2x times 3 would be negative 6x. And 3x squared times positive 3 would be 9x squared. Okay, now we're going to multiply 1 times 2x, this times this, and this times this. So 1 times 2x, and what we're going to do is when we get our answer from multiplying those, we're going to put that right here, because notice, these two are like terms. We're stacking like terms. Now this times this should give me a negative 4x squared, which I'm going to put there. Forgot the plus sign there. Because these are like terms. And then I'm going to multiply those. 3 times 2 is 6x cubed. Draw a line and add 3, negative 4x, and positive 5x squared, and nothing to add that, so that's going to stay there. So notice that answer and that answer are the same. Now you don't have to do the column method. If you're happy with doing this method here, feel free to stick with that, but this is another option as far as multiplying goes. Now I'll be honest with you, example number 7 I think is very, very confusing on what they're doing there. If you want to learn how to do that, you feel just free to look that one over. But I'm going to stick with my tried and true methods of multiplying these instead of using these rectangle things, because I have no idea why or what they're doing on that, because I mean I can do it, but it is not something that's simple. It's not something that I want to do. So I stick with these ways, these methods. So again, this times this. Okay, so let's do the first one. 3x times 4x squared. 3x times x. 3x times 3. And then in green, negative 2 times that, that, and that. So negative 2 times 4x squared is negative 8x squared. Negative 2 times x is negative 2x. Negative 2 times positive 3 is negative 6. And then we combine what we can. That, and that, that, and that, and then that's all by itself. And we're done. All right, let's look at the application that they give us. For example, number 8. See if we can work our way through that. All right, we've got a rectangle. And what do they say? The length of the rectangle is 3 more than twice the width. Okay, what do we know the least about? We know the least about the width. So we'll call that W. What do we know about the length? It's 3 more than twice the width. Well, what's twice the width? 2W. And this length here is 3 more than twice the width. So there's the length of my rectangle. Write an expression for the area of the rectangle. Well, what is the area of a rectangle? The area is length times width. So what is the length? The length is 2W plus 3. What is the width? W. So we're going to multiply that times W. Alright, so let's flip this around. So we put the W first. Doesn't really matter, but it just looks better this way. And then let's just distribute that and that. So area equals, what's W times 2W? 2W squared. 3 times W, and you're done. Okay, not a whole lot to that. Now the book used X instead of W for the width, but it doesn't really matter. So let's go ahead and look at the problem sets. Alright, so 1 through 10 is basically the distributive property, and I'd like to do number 10. Okay, so let's distribute. This times this. 6 times 2 is 12. X to the first times x squared is x to the 2 plus 1. And there isn't anything to multiply the y times, so it just stays. Let's multiply this times this. 6 times 5 is 30. X to the first times x to the first, 1 plus 1 is 2. And then I have a y cubed and a y with a 1 up there. So we have 3 plus 1 gives me y to the fourth. Now I'm going to multiply that times that. So 6 times 12 is 72. X, there's nothing to multiply it by, so it just stays. Y cubed times y squared is 3 plus 2 is 5. And that's number 10. Okay, so number 16 is with fractions, and we do the FOIL method. So we're going to take x times x, the first ones. We're going to take the outside ones, x times 2/5. We just stick them together because you can't multiply a number times a letter. Then we're going to do the inside, same thing. And then we're going to do the last. 3/5 times 2/5. 3 times 2 is 6. 5 times 5 is 25. Okay, so the only things that we can combine are those. 5 over 5 is 1, so we can just write it as x squared plus x plus 6 over 25. So for numbers 39 to 70, they give you an option of using any of the methods that you want to use. I'm going to just grab a couple of these. So let's look at Let's look at number 56. They always do this to you, don't they? They give you some examples, and then they throw some problems in here that are so different than the examples, it's kind of tough to do. All right, so there's three binomials there. What we're going to do is we're going to multiply these two, then we're going to take the answer and multiply it by that. Okay, so let's use the FOIL method. And let's do x times x times negative 4. Negative 3 times x, negative 3 times negative 4. Combine these. Okay, so that took care of those. Now we're going to multiply that by x minus 5. And again, we're going to use the FOIL method. In fact, let's flip these around. Let's make this x minus 5 times x squared minus 7x plus 12. No reason except I just like the smaller ones first. Alright, so let's move all this up. So, FOIL or distribute it. That times that, and that. So x times x squared, x times negative 7x, x times 12. That times that times that, and that times that. Alright, combine like terms. I don't have any x cubes, so I know nothing's going to happen there. I've got that, and I've got that. Okay, I've got that and that, 45, 47, and nothing to combine with my 60. So I end up with that whole big ol' stinking thing once I'm done with it. I'm just checking my answer here, making sure I didn't make any mistakes. Some of you are catching some of the mistakes I'm making, and that's good. I'm glad you're paying attention. But I'm trying to make fewer of them. All right, let's look at 58, and then we'll call it quits. Okay, so what do we do with this minus 4 here? Well, we do the FOIL method. So we get, I'm just going to do this real fast. Okay, oops, I guess I'm going too fast. This should be plus 4x, 2x times 2. Alright, minus 15x, minus 10, and then that minus 4 tags on there. So 6x squared minus 11x minus 10 minus 4. I can combine these two. And I'm done there. Okay, so a lot of these are the same way. If you look at like 68, just going to distribute 2x squared minus 8x plus 6. Okay, nothing terrible there, and that's all there is to it. Alright, 71 to 74, if I did assign any of those, I don't have the assignment sheet with me in front of me. Don't do those as far as the way the book does. Just use the FOIL method and figure out the answer there rather than doing the rectangle. I think that's more common core, and I'd rather have you just do it the way I taught you than to try that. So anyway, you should be good for lesson 5.5.